Good morning. My name is Billy Reed, a proud member of the board of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not fair to be playing Tutti Frutti by Little Richard because that just drives me crazy. I want a jitterbug, Alice. Huh? This group is really one of the best things I've been involved with. It's just because not only are we celebrating high school basketball in Kentucky and its great tradition, but all of us, we get to celebrate that special time in all of our lives, and talk with these legends about how basketball helped them to a college education, how it helped shape their values. And for those of you who were at the first induction ceremony last summer in Elizabethtown, it was one of the best things of its kind I've ever been to be in the audience, to see Wes Unseld on the stage with Jim McDaniels, both of them now on canes, to see King Kelly Coleman and Jerry Grigsby, the two scoring machines from the mountains together, Clem Haskins. It just was an exceptional event and night, and I want to compliment everybody from E-Town, everybody, Ken Trivett certainly, who's been the driving force behind this, for just really putting on a first-class event. And if you have the opportunity to come to this year's induction, I promise you it's something you'll really enjoy. The first item of business, we're going to have a video presentation which will be in two parts. The first one was produced by WKY-TV, thanks to Wayne Martin, called The Essence of the Game, and then the second part will be highlights from last year's induction ceremony in Elizabethtown.
100 years ago, most high schools in the United States were smaller than they are today. It was then that basketball became the ideal interscholastic sport. It required little equipment and few people to play. The popularity of high school basketball became unrivaled in Kentucky, with over 500 high school teams at one point. Every team had its town. Every town had its team. Today, basketball's popularity remains high, both in rural areas as well as in our larger cities. Many Kentucky players go on to participate at higher levels of competition after graduating high school. But the essence of high school basketball in Kentucky is more than a player's dream of college stardom. It is more than mastering the skills required to play the game. It teaches many life lessons. It teaches our children how to be competitive. It teaches fair play in an orderly, rule-based system. It teaches how to deal with the highs and lows that are embedded in competition, shaping their character in the fires of competition. It teaches that teamwork is essential for success. Players develop lifelong friendships with each other, and their coaches teach them not only the rules of the game, but mentor each player. Basketball teaches a work ethic, which creates success and boosts the player's self-confidence. And that confidence carries over in all aspects of life, from the classroom to personal decision-making. High school basketball in Kentucky teaches our children how to succeed in the real world.
It's time to celebrate the inductees of the 2012 Centennial Class of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. The King and Queen of High School Basketball, King Kelly Coleman of the Wayland High Wasp, and Jerry Grigsby of McDowell High School. The first family of high school basketball, Clem the Jim Haskins of Campbellsville, Durham, and Taylor County High, and his daughter Clemette Haskins of Warren Central High School. The men from Male High School, Ralph Beard of Four Sport Letterman, and Daryl Griffith, one of the doctors of dunk. the Lexington coaching legends, S.T. Roach, who led the Lexington Dunbar Bearcats, and Ralph Carlisle of Lexington Lafayette. The marvelous men in the middle, Wes Unseld of Louisville Seneca High School, and Jim McDaniel of Allen County Patriots. The Clay County Connection, Longshot Master, Richie Farmer of Clay County High, and Coach Bobby Keith of the Clay County Tigers. The Davis County Dynamic Duo, famed hookshot pro Cliff Hagan of Owensboro High and King Rex Chapman of Owensboro Apollo High. The unmatched men from the mountains, Laurel County Lady Cardinals coach Roy Bowling and Harlan High School's famed Wallace Wawa Jones. And now, it's time to recognize the 2013 Centennial Class of inductees into the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame on July 20th at the historic State Theater in Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
And now for a few words from the mayor of the home of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Mayor Tim Walker from Elizabethtown. Mayor?
Thank you, Billy. I'd just like to say a few words. I'm proud to be here today and be a part of this ceremony, this press conference. And the City of Elizabethtown is honored to be the host community for the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. We very much understand that this is a statewide Hall of Fame, basketball Hall of Fame, and City is just the host community. But we're committed to willing to do whatever we can to build on what we started last year. We had a wonderful event at the State Theater last year, our great ceremony, and I'll never forget the comments made by Cliff Hagan and Rex Chapman. They said it was one of the greatest nights of their life and one of the nicest events they had ever attended. So that was an exclamation point for me, and said, I guess we did a good job. But anyway, we're excited this year. We're going to have another induction ceremony at the State Theater, July the 20th, and I'd like to be one of the first ones to congratulate the 2013 class, and Elizabethtown is proud to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And now a relatively new member of our team. Some people have referred to him as the Larry Brown of Kentucky High School basketball because he has coached at more than one place, as I understand it. Please welcome the Director and State Coordinator of the High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Mr. Curtis Turley.
Thanks, Billy, and thank you to the mayor and everyone that's been involved, whether you've been in front on the scenes or behind the scenes. And I would like to say a special congratulations to our class of inductees coming in this year that were able to be represented, either yourself or family members today, and then certainly to the remaining class. And just 2 or 3 quick things I'd like to remind everyone. This year's class is part of the Centennial group. Last year's group, 2012, this year's group, and continuing on until we get the first 100 inductees will all be considered a part of the Centennial class. That's what their awards say, that's what their Hall of Fame rings say, and that's how it's laid out. And as Billy mentioned, and the mayor also, the induction ceremony last year was just phenomenal. And I made the comment to Brenda as we were sitting there, if you had taken away last year's inductees and not even had them on stage and walked up on stage and looked out at the crowd, it was a tremendous tribute to high school basketball all across the state, because you had their friends and players that had played with them and coaches that had coached them. It was just a who's who among Kentucky high school basketball legends there. And we look forward to that being the same thing this year. Basically, our Hall of Fame has 3 major goals and visions. One is the induction ceremony, which this press conference is about today, that takes place on July the 20th. And then we also have what we're referring to as an educational component. And I would ask you, as you leave today, as you exit, out on the left here on the wall, as you go out by the drinks, by the tea and water and Cokes, there's a poster, because the induction ceremony and honoring and recognizing worthy players and coaches, that's number one, yes. But our educational component is that we want to promote and educate all across the state and protect this great heritage and tradition we have of Kentucky high school basketball. This winter, several of us on the board and committees went to schools and presented the awards, a duplicate award at all the high schools. And along with that presentation, we gave out one of these, or actually gave out two of the posters that are out there. And it's called our education poster, and you'll see it, but it's got 5 X's at one end, 5 O's at the other. Good character on one side, good choices on the other, and by each of those characters, X's and O's, are a key ingredient that you should gain from participating in basketball and team sports. We're hoping to be able to go and do assembly programs at schools later on, and actually put together a documentary film that will be, we've got some ladies in the educational unit working on that now to develop it, where it will be a history lesson with basketball as an underlying theme, talking about how our state is so geographically diverse, from the coal fields in the east to the Jackson Purchase in the west, and how basketball helped bring us culturally and geographically diverse state together like it has over the years. And then the other thing the other track that we're on is to try to generate enough interest with people that have a passion, that have been blessed in this state, whether they be entrepreneurs, business people, but people that have been affected by this game, whether they're a past player, coach, fan, business person that would be willing to partner with us and get on board and help provide funds necessary to have a permanent brick and mortar building. And we would like that to happen in the next few years so that we can actually house this memorabilia in E-Town and have a permanent home there for that. So we're working on three fronts at this point, some moving a little bit faster than others, but that's our goal. So again, I would just like to say congratulations to the 2013 class. And when you hear all the names that Billy's going to read out in a minute, you're going to see why everyone's just as excited as they were last summer. Thanks a lot. And me personally, I'm excited and honored to be a part of this because, you know, being a lifelong coach, player, and fan of high school basketball, I realize how important it is to our state, and how that we've needed this for many, many years, and but it's better late than never. Thanks.
Okay, a few quick thank yous before we get to the introduction of this year's inductees. Special thanks to WKYT Television for doing the Essence of the Game video, to Chris Slater, the KABC webmaster, for the inductee photos, Gina of HCE TV Elizabethtown for the 2012 induction highlight video, Rafferty's Restaurant for the door prizes, Leah Wise Pruitt and Kathy Johnston for the 2013 inductee award collages, Gateway Printing, Jostens for the rings, Codell Construction, the First Citizens Bank of Elizabethtown, Mr. Wayne Gauntz, and from the Kentucky Historical Society with us this morning, Executive Director Kent Whitworth, Mr. Scott Alvey, and Jody Blankenship. Would you guys please stand up? We hope to have an announcement soon of a special project that we've been working on with the Historical Society on. Also, some legends in the audience I'd like to introduce real quickly. He played at Davies County High School, went to UK for a year, and then went to Western Kentucky, where he was a teammate of Clem Haskins on some of those great Western teams. Later a national championship coach at Kentucky Wesleyan. He played for the Kentucky Colonels of the ABA, and he had a son named Rex who could play a little basketball, Mr. Wayne Chapman. This fellow was a student manager for St. Xavier when they won the 1958 state championship. He later, I think his first job in coaching was as an assistant to Hardin McLean at Elizabethtown Catholic. later a successful college head coach at Eastern Kentucky, Kentucky Wesleyan, and Virginia Commonwealth, Mr. Mike Polio. The little left-handed shooter from Versailles High School, Union College, who later went on to become a Hall of Fame coach at my alma mater, Transylvania University, Mr. Donnie Lane. And last but not least, last August we had a special event here, a reunion of the 1972 U.S. Olympic basketball team who got cheated out of the gold medal against the Russians. There's no other way to put it. They got cheated. But he was a star player at Wayne County High School, which has made the state tournament again this year. Still the leading scorer all time at Georgetown College, and the captain of the 72 U.S. Olympic basketball team, Mr. Kenny Davis. And now, give me the envelope. No, I already got this. The inductees, the class. And I should explain that basically the way we're doing this is that the 100th anniversary of the state tournament is going to happen in 2018. So we're inducting a group every year leading up to 2018 so that by the time of that anniversary, we're going to have 100 people in the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. So really, everybody is in the first class. I guess this is the second division of the first class, if you will. Our first one from Cuttawa High School, a graduate in 1941, Joe Fulks was recognized by his former coach as the Babe Ruth of basketball. Mr. Fulks did more to modernize the game's style of play with his skill and finesse than any player before him. His refinement of the one-handed shot into a jump shot gave him legendary status. He played at Cuttawa his senior year, leading the Lions to the Sweet 16, and later became a star at Murray State and in the NBA, where he once scored 63 points. Joe Fulks. From Cuba High School, Howie Crittenden, one of the finest dribblers and ball handlers of all time. Crittenden was a crowd pleaser during the 1951 and 52 state tournaments. Named All-Tournament and All-State for both seasons, he helped his team capture the state crown in 1952. Winning the Sweet 16 as a member of the Cuba Cubs, he claimed was his biggest athletic thrill. He played collegiately at Murray State, where he set numerous scoring records. Howie Crittenden. The next one from Clark County High School, class of 52, Mr. Linville Puckett. Stand up, Linville. Linville was the last of 7 brothers who played basketball for Clark County. He led Clark County to the 1951 state championship, scoring 26 points in the final game. He was a 3-time All-State performer and captain of the All-State team in both his junior and senior years. Linville was also named to the All-State tournament team in 50, 51, and 52. He signed a basketball scholarship with the University of Kentucky and played on the 1954 team that finished 25-0 before transferring to Kentucky Wesleyan, where he was a star player for Coach Bullet Wilson at Kentucky Wesleyan. Linville Puckett. Want to have him come up and say something? First state tournament that I ever saw a game in person was in 1955, where Johnny Cox led Hazard High School to the state championship. Known for his sweeping hook shot. You coaches have to tell me why players don't shoot hook shots anymore. If some of these guys, these 6'10", 6'11 guys had a hook shot, they'd score a lot more points. Anyhow, Johnny had a great hook shot. He had a one-handed jumper. He led Hazard to the 1955 state championship for Coach Goebel Ritter, scoring 32 points in the final game and 127 points for the tournament. Johnny was an all-stater. He was the Mr. Basketball in 1955, and he earned a basketball scholarship to the University of Kentucky. where he led the 1958 Fiddlin' Five as a junior to the NCAA championship in Freedom Hall. Mr. Johnny Cox. In 1957, the first state tournament ever held in Louisville's Freedom Hall, the champion was Lafayette High School, coached by Ralph Carlisle and led by Billy Ray Lickard. Billy Ray was the high scorer in the championship game against Eastern High School with 26 points. He was named All-State in 56 and 57 and culminated his high school career by being named Mr. Basketball for 57. He also went to the University of Kentucky, where he had an outstanding career under Coach Adolph Rupp. Billy Ray has just undergone some surgery, knee surgery, isn't that right, Kenny? Hip surgery, and he's recovering, but I promise you he will be with us for the induction ceremony in July. Billy Ray Lickard. The next one of my all-time personal favorites and dear friends, Larry Conley from Ashland High School. As a junior in 1961, he was the playmaker and leader of what many believe is the greatest high school team to ever play in Kentucky. The Ashland Tomcats only lost one game. All five of the starters earned Division I scholarships. Larry came back, the only returning starter the next year, and led Ashland back to the championship game where they played against Mike Silliman's great St. Xavier team, and they lost 62-58. But a great performance by Larry in that championship game. And of course, he later on, he went to the University of Kentucky and was one of the leaders for the Runts team that made it to the 1968-66 national championship game, losing to Texas Western. Larry went on to a long and distinguished career as a commentator for ESPN, and he did a lot of SEC games with our friend Tom Hammond. Larry Conley from Ashland. From Breckinridge County High School, Alfred Butch Beard. Butch he led Breckinridge County to the state tournament in 1964. I covered that tournament for the Lexington Leader, Mike. We still had an afternoon newspaper here in Lexington. We even put out special editions after the afternoon session. Big thrill of mine at that time. But Butch played against Allen County in the semifinals, and he got beat up so bad that they didn't think he could play against Seneca in the championship game. And I can remember being in the locker room before the game when they gave him a shot of, I guess it was cortisone or something in his knee, but he was still wobbly and woozy when he went out to the floor. He tried to play, but lost that championship game to the great Seneca team led by Wes Unseld. But then Butch came back as a senior in 1965 to lead Breckinridge County to the state tournament championship. Of course, he was Mr. Basketball and later went on to a stellar career as a teammate of Wes Unseld at the University of Louisville. From Breckinridge County, Butch Beard. And I'm confident, by the way, that even though these people couldn't be with us this morning, they will be there at the induction in July. So I don't think there's going to be a problem with that. 1966, from Shelby County High School, not Shelbyville High School, as is on one of the plaques back there, Mr. Mike Casey. Mike was recognized as a high school All-American in 1966. He led the Rockets to the state championship and was named Mr. Basketball. Many consider the 1966 Rockets to be one of the great teams to ever win the Sweet 16. He was twice All-State and was also a member of the 1966 All-State Tournament team. He went on to play at UK as a classmate and fraternity brother of Dan Issel and Mike Pratt. And to my dying day, I will always say that had Mike not been injured in a car accident before his senior year in college, had he been able to play along with Issel and Pratt as a senior, Kentucky would have no question won the national championship that year. Mike sat out the year, recuperated, came back, and had a good senior year, but not, it was never quite the same as a player after that accident. Representing Mike today is his sister, Michelle Miller. Please welcome Michelle. Don't you think Kentucky would have won it that year with Mike? Definitely. Thank you so much. Our next inductee, who I guess is not here, from Newport High School, Donna Murphy. With her fluid motion, leaping ability, and left-handed jump shot, she helped really popularize girls basketball in Kentucky right after Title IX came in the early 1970s. She was selected as the MVP in the 1975 state tournament with 2-game totals of 67 points and 50 rebounds. Let me repeat that. 2 games, 67 points, 50 rebounds. She was the first winner of Kentucky's Miss Basketball in 1976, as well as the recipient of the Joe Billy Mansfield Award for Academic and Athletic Achievement. An all-state performer, she signed with Morehead State University, where she led the Eagles to the OVC championship. And I must tell you, I did an interview with Donna last week, and her story about what she had to overcome just to be able to play the game. How she was ridiculed by the boys, how when she finally got to be on an organized team, the things she experienced, the names she was called when she went on the road. It was one of the most touching, powerful stories, but what a great tribute and what a great symbol of what high school basketball can mean in a person's life. So from Newport High School, Donna Murphy. Sharon Garland helped lead Laurel County to 3 consecutive state championships. She was the leading scorer. 3 consecutive state my goodness, is that right? 3. She was the leading scorer in all 3 of these, for all 3 of these teams. No other player in girls' state tournament history has ever won 3 state championships and led their team in scoring all 3 games. She was 3 times All-State and All-State tournament, and she completed her basketball career at Western Kentucky University. The great Sharon Garland. And by the way, for you media people, we'll have a little Q&A session as soon as this is over, and then I'm sure they'll be available after the session if you want some one-on-ones. From Ballard High School in Louisville, Kentucky, Alan Houston. A runner-up finish in 1987 and a state title in 1988, Houston became one of the most recognized players in state championship game history. He was named to the All-State and All-State tournament teams twice. He was Mr. Basketball in 1988 while earning All-American honors as well. He played collegiately at the University of Tennessee for his father, Wade Houston, and was a starter all 4 years, setting several volunteer. And if I'm not mistaken, he retired and may still be the all-time number 2 scorer in SEC history behind only Pistol Pete Maravich. He later had a distinguished career in the NBA, mainly for the New York Knicks. He is represented this morning by his mother, Alice Houston. Now, Alice is a former cheerleader for Louisville Central High School. And I interviewed her in the Central High School gymnasium about her son and about her father, and she did a version of the famous Louisville Central "Gonna Sting You" cheer. Now, whether she'll do it today or not, I don't know.
But it has improved.
It has improved. You've been working on it? All right. From Highlands High School, a graduate of 1996, Jamie Walls Ritchie. In 1996, Jamie was named Parade Magazine National Player of the Year, Gatorade Circle of Champions recipient, as well as Kentucky's Miss Basketball. An all-time leading career scorer in Kentucky, she holds the state record with 4,948 points. Her prestigious basketball career continued with her playing for Western Kentucky University. As a side note, I must point out that her father, Roger Walls, was a quarterback at Highlands High School who played at UK as the backup to Rick Norton, and her brother is now the coach of the U of L women's basketball team. Jamie Walls Ritchie. One of my personal favorites from Paintsville High School, a graduate of 1998, Mr. J.R. Van Hoos. J.R. was one of only a handful of players to score over 3,000 points, have over 2,000 rebounds, and over 500 block shots during his high school career. A state championship win in 1996 and a runner-up finish in 1998 were major highlights in his career. He was named the 1996 Sweet 16 Most Valuable Player, the 1998 Mr. Basketball, and the 1998 Parade All-American, and he played collegiately for the Thundering Herd of Marshall University. Mr. J.R. Van Hoos. Someday, J.R., I may forgive Tubby for not recruiting you, but I haven't gotten there yet. Okay, doing double duty today is Alice Houston, because we also are inducting her father, Coach William Keene of Central High School from 1922 to 1958. A legend at Louisville Central High School and a pioneer for desegregation of athletics in Kentucky, Mr. Keene coached basketball for 36 years. His teams won 856 games and lost only 83. 856-83. Coach Keene led his teams to 5 state basketball championships in the Kentucky Basketball League, which was the all African-American league that existed in the days before integration, and 4 national championships in the National Negro High School tournaments. And Coach Keene, of course, is the father of Alice Houston and the grandfather of fellow inductee Allen Houston. Once again, representing her father this time, Alice Houston. Letcher Norton, Clark County High School and Trapp High School, a coaching career that lasted from 1935 to 1962. Over the span of 3 decades, Letcher Norton became a coaching legend in the state of Kentucky, producing great teams and players. He started his career at Trapp High School before serving in World War II as a Marine sergeant stationed in the South Pacific. After honing his leadership skills, he would take the reins of the Clark County High School program, leading the Cardinals to 8 regional championships, a state title in 1951, and a runner-up finish in 1950. He was named Coach of the Year 3 times and won 583 games. Representing Coach Norton today is a member of his last team at Clark County High School, Mr. Wayne Martin. Coach Bobby Watson, head coach at Owensboro High School from 1957 through 1980. Coach Watson was an all-state guard at Owensboro High School and had an outstanding career at the University of Kentucky for Coach Adolph Rupp. But it was as the coach at his alma mater that his legacy was fulfilled. The Red Devils won 14 regional championships and 2 state championships coming in 1972 and 1980. His favorite coaching motto was, "On the fields of athletic competition are sown the seeds that in later years will bear the fruit of success." I thought that was Winston Churchill instead of Bobby Watson, but I'm not sure. But Coach Watson is not in good health right now, but certainly with his career as a player on those great teams that Coach Rupp had in the early 50s, and then later on his just stellar coaching career at Owensboro High School, certainly is deserving of this honor. Coach Bobby Watson. And finally, he coached at Marshall County High School from 1980 through 2010, Coach Howard Beth. The basketball program at Marshall County was the epitome of success in girls high school basketball, winning 11 consecutive regional championships under Coach Beth. His teams played in the state championship game 3 times and captured 2 state titles in 1982 and 1984. His 800-plus wins are the most for any girls coach in the history of Kentucky high school basketball. For Marshall County, Coach Howard Beth. Let's have a round of applause for all the members of the class of 2013. And now, Kenny, you want to come up and help me with the question and answer? Come on up. Kenny Trivett, the Executive Director of the Kentucky High School Basketball Coaches Association. And Curtis.
If you have any questions from the press, feel free to ask. I'm kind of slow, so I will defer to Curtis and Billy. But I do want to mention 2 other things that 2 people here tonight or today that I think need to be recognized. You know, it's a great accomplishment to win 800 games. Howard Beth, of course, won 800 games, and Mr. Keene won 800 games, and we have 2 gentlemen here today that are relatively young guys who have won 800 games. And I'd like to recognize Ron Bevers from North Hardin, who got his 800th win this year, and Billy Hicks from Scott County, who got theirs last year. Stand up, please. My dad coached 15 or 16 years, and I remember him saying, he said, I can't take it anymore. He coached so hard and put so much into it, and I know that they do the same thing, and it's amazing to me that people can coach that long, 30 years and plus, and it's a tribute to their background and to their character and to their strength of personality, and they've given so much to the game. So again, congratulations to you too.
Well, as Kenny said, thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate your support, your interest. Hope you're able to make the induction. I promise you, it'll be one of the best things you've ever been to. I've got in closing, a little introduction I need to make too, because Leah Wise Pruitt is in the back of the room. Her son Omar is leading Montgomery County into the state tournament this week. In 1959, when I began covering sports, one of the first games I covered was a football game between Henry Clay and Danville. The star of Danville was Clyde Wise. Now fast forward to when Leah played college basketball at UK. I wrote a column about her. I'm not sure it could be published today because I think I compared it to Farrah Fawcett Majors or something. It was probably completely politically incorrect, but now here's the next generation of her son. So that's my story about, man, I feel old. Thank you all for being here.